John Lusk here with Lusk Archery Adventures, serious testing and successful hunting. I've got another Broadhead battle that I'm doing here today, and I'm excited about this one. I love doing battles between heads that try to accomplish the exact same thing and have really similar specs and yet have very different designs. And that's what we have here with the Sevr 1.5 and the Swhacker 1.5. Okay, the Sevr 1.5 is all titanium. It's all titanium ferrule right here, and then has stainless steel blades, 0.032 inches thick. The Sevr, or the Swhacker, I'm going to get these confused all day. The Swhacker 1.5 is all stainless steel, the blades as well as the ferrule, 0.032 inch thick blades. So in that sense, very similar. Titanium ferrule versus steel ferrule. Blades, exact same thickness, exact same diameter. The deployment is quite different. The Sevr, as you know, is a rear deploying head, and the Swhacker is an over-the-top deploying head like that. So that makes a difference in terms of the initial cut. I mean, the entrance cut of a rear deploying head is always going to be way bigger than that of an over-the-top deploying head. But they say the advantage, so to speak, of if there is one of the over-the-top deploying head is because there's not as big of an initial cut, there's deeper penetration because in effect it's not cutting through that hide twice if it goes all the way through. So we're going to test that out, and I'm going to test the durability of these heads. Let me just mention this. In terms of flight, man, these heads are both like killers. I mean killers. Look at the Swhacker in flight. I mean, they have a little O-ring that holds that together. And man, that is just like, it's like as small, almost smaller than a field tip. So it flies really well. The Sevr, it's not in the closed position. In the closed position, all you see are these little wing tips that stick out just a little bit. And man, I've shot it. It just, these are both like two of the very best flying heads and two of the very best flying mechanical heads that there are on the market. So flight, I give them both an A+. They're fantastic. But I'm going to test them for penetration and I'm going to test them for durability. And the primary way I'm going to be testing them is like I've been doing with all of my heads. I have a couple layers of 1/2 inch MDF and a little bit of a rubber foam mat that I put in the front of it like hide, and I'm going to test the penetration, durability, and that. I'm also going to do it at a 45-degree angle, which I do for mechanical heads to see how well they deploy and hold up on that kind of an angle. And then I have a steel plate that I'm going to put them through to see the durability of that. And then for fun, I might be able to test them through an elk scapula at the end and just see how well they do on an elk scapula. So let's see how these two heads perform and see which one is the Broadhead battle winner. And let me just add, like with all my testing, I'm using my Bowtech SR6 that's set at 72 pounds. It's maxed out on the comfort setting, 27-inch draw. And I'm using these Bishop FOC King arrows that are footed, and because they're just the toughest things out there. Swhacker 1.5 inch stainless steel. Sevr 1.5 inch. This is an interesting comparison of the two Broadhead styles and their penetration. Here you see the Sevr open completely on impact, even with that layer of hide. Ripped a nice hole there. And you can see that the Swhacker did not open at all on the first layer. That's, it's over the top deployment design. And then you see in terms of penetration, both of them had blown through the first layer of MDF, and they both opened up fully by the back of that. As they went through that, they both reached the second board. The Sevr, I don't know if you can notice this here. I'm sorry, the Swhacker, I don't know if you can notice it here, but it just kind of poked into the second layer, then poked back out, whereas the Sevr embedded completely into that second layer. And then as we go through the back of the second layer, you can see the bulge created by the Sevr as it went through and made that nice dent in the back, that dimple, whereas the Swhacker did not penetrate that second layer of MDF very much at all. Now I got the board set up at a 45-degree angle. It will see how well the heads do at an angle. First, the Swhacker 1.5. Now the Sevr 1.5. Again, you can see that same difference in terms of the opening of the blades. Although you get a little tiny bit of opening there on the right of the Swhacker. The Sevr opened completely. And then in terms of penetration, let's turn it sideways here. Okay, you see the Swhacker went through the first board, but then just kind of stopped. And the Sevr continued to penetrate and embedded into the second board there. Yeah, it's stuck well. Okay, now we'll go with the steel plate to see what kind of edge retention we're getting here and strength. And we'll go first with the Swhacker 1.5. And now the Sevr 1.5. There again, you see the entrance holes and the difference. In terms of the penetration, the Sevr's here on the bottom, it edged out, by 1.5 inches or so. And I'll pull them apart so you can see the blades, but just upon initial inspection, you can see the blades of the Sevr look to be in perfect condition, whereas with the Swhacker, it's hard to see there. They got pretty bent up. Looks like one of them's twisted back the wrong way. Okay, I'll pull them apart and we can examine them fairly. This is the board that was right behind the steel plate that you can see they both went into. This is the entrance. And as you can see, the Sevr got pretty jacked up there. One of the blades did not deploy, got stuck upon going through the steel. So one of the blades made a nick right there, and the other one I can't bend back. The tip of it broke off. This one really bent. This one, the tip broke off, and it therefore didn't deploy into this. And then the Sevr went through fine, is in perfect condition. Let's turn it around. So here's the Swhacker, and you can see that on the back of this, you see you're just getting a straight hole because that one blade did not deploy. It just stayed bent like that. That's why it penetrated. I was surprised it penetrated almost as well as the Sevr. Well, that's the reason why. It didn't have any blades going through this board, and didn't have any blades deployed going through this board. And then the Sevr, you can see it made the full cut going through there, the 1.5 inch cut all the way through, and stayed in that position. Let's see how the Sevr 1.5 does against this elk scapula. Now let's see how the Sevr 1.7 does against the elk scapula. Now I'm going to shoot the Swhacker 1.5 stainless steel through this elk scapula. Here's the three heads after they went through the scapula. All of them blew through it. You can see the Swhacker 1.5, it clearly didn't open all the way upon impact. That's because it's an over-the-top opener, and so it didn't, the blades didn't open immediately like that. And then, unfortunately, one of the blades broke off. You can see it there, and the other bent quite a bit. It's hard to see it exactly, but it bent. So one broke, one bent, not much of a hole on impact. Here, both of the Sevrs open fully on impact, and you can see the holes that they made. I wish I would have separated them a bit more so they didn't overlap as much as they did, but that's just the cut of the first one. And the blades and the heads just held up incredibly well. So this went through, all three of these, they went through the 1/2 inch of MDF as well as the elk scapula. And you can see how the Sevrs performed. They're both just golden after that. Not quite so much the Swhacker. Well, there you have it. So the heads, while I said really similar specs in so many ways, have very different results other than the flight. The flight was fantastic for both of them. But in terms of the penetration, the total tissue being cut because of the rear deployment, and the durability, honestly, there's just no comparison. So Broadhead battle on this one, it's easy. It goes to the Sevr 1.5.